Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Portal Season 2024 with the Auburn Tigers. My name is Tate. I am publisher/Commodore at auburnsports.com, which I consider the best Auburn-centric website in the entire universe. Of course, I'm biased. I am the owner, I am the publisher, and I've been there a really long time. If you guys are not subscribers, please consider jumping over to auburnsports.com and checking out what we do. But on this show, we just talk about portal happenings and things going on at Auburn, and oh man, is it popping today. Jackson Arnold, probably the most important player for Auburn in the portal, has committed to Auburn, has signed with Auburn. He's going to be an Auburn Tiger. This is a very, very big deal for Auburn in the sense that the number one thing they had to get out of this portal was a QB1. That was the absolute first domino that had to fall, and now they've got it. Jackson Arnold, of course, a 5-star recruit out of high school in the 23 class from Denton, Texas, went to Oklahoma, had kind of a star-crossed couple seasons there. He was a backup his first year, and then this year he was kind of given the keys to the offense. And things didn't go that well, but I want to say they had a lot of issues at wide receiver, and you think Auburn had some problems. They were even worse, and I think the way that they had so many injuries at that position, I think their group, their wide receiver room, was behind where Auburn was with Harsin. I mean, to me, it was like a D or a D-minus group, and so Jackson Arnold, here they are in an offense where they're going to try to pass the ball a lot, and he doesn't have a Dre. He doesn't have a Cam Coleman. He doesn't have a Perry. I mean, he just doesn't have it. And so his numbers really fell off or weren't up to expectations. I think that a lot of Oklahoma fans, I went to high school in Oklahoma. A lot of my friends are OU fans, and I've listened to them bellyache about Jackson Arnold. But it wasn't really about him. It was more like, this kid's being wasted. He's good enough to help us, but in other ways, we're woefully inefficient, and it screws the kid over. So I think this is a situation where it's a good change of scenery for this kid. I think he's got talent for sure, and I think he's got that fire that Auburn fans are going to really appreciate. So we'll talk a little bit here in a minute about some pluses and minuses with him, but listen, I think it's going to be a good fit, and it gets that QB1 in the house. And now they can kind of say to guys like Eric Singleton or CJ Daniels or whoever else they're thinking about at wide receiver, hey, we've got Jackson Arnold. And that's a name people know. The kids do. And I think that matters. Let's take a look at the QB comparison here. I hope the type's not too small for you to read, but Auburn is trying to send out some information comparing Jackson Arnold to Bo Nix. And I do think there are some comparisons that are worth talking about there, but it's about Bo Nix's sophomore season, not his junior season. Because Jackson Arnold was a sophomore this year, second-year starter or second-year player. So let's look at Bo Nix's numbers from his second year at Auburn. You can see that top level is what Jackson did this year. Bo Nix, what he did in the 2020 shortened season due to COVID. The numbers are somewhat similar. 62.6% for Jackson Arnold, 59.9 for Bo Nix. We all know that Bo Nix was not a deep ball guy, and I don't think Jackson Arnold is either. Those numbers on the right are their completion percentage or their numbers beyond 20 yards. So 7 of 30 for Jackson Arnold, 23%. Not good. But Oklahoma didn't have any deep threats after all the injuries. He really had nobody to challenge for balls, to have that aerial ability to go up and get balls, and when you lack that, it makes it very, very difficult to be a good deep ball guy. Now, Peyton Thorne's numbers this year, you can see 21 of 53 for almost 40%. He's not a good deep ball guy either, but he had Cam and he had Dre. He had guys that could go downfield, beat people, and go up and get the ball and win aerial duels. Rivaldo Fairweather did some of that too, so that helps a lot. And I think Jackson Arnold has a similar arm. It's probably better than Peyton Thorne's arm, but I think he can produce numbers similar to that, just in the way where he's going to be throwing the football is what I mean to say. Peyton was a guy who liked to throw short and quickly. Bo Nix was a guy who likes to throw short and quickly. And Jackson Arnold's a guy who I think thrives in the anywhere from line of scrimmage to 15 yards. He gets the ball out very quickly, and I think he can be a really good player. He also gives you, I don't put any stats up here for this, but all three of these guys are good runners. Jackson Arnold rushed for 444 yards this past season. I mean, they used him as a weapon. It wasn't just kind of scrambling. I mean, he's a runner. Bo Nix, same way. I thought of him more as a scrambler at Auburn, but he could run the football, and he certainly was valorous. He wasn't scared to run the football. And Peyton Thorne, you know how it is with him. He definitely was willing to run. Taking a look at Jackson Arnold from a positives and negatives perspective. Again, this is just my view of it. On the good side, SEC experience. I mean, he's played at Oklahoma, and he's faced some of these defenses. He's beaten Alabama, so that's a good thing. Competitive disposition. He reminds me kind of a Baker Mayfield kind of player. He's very, very spirited and emotional, and I think that's good in a quarterback, assuming that he can keep his emotions in check during the games and not get, Will Muschamped. Though we know how Will freaks out and kind of loses focus. I don't necessarily think Jackson Arnold has that problem. I think that people are going to really respond to his type of leadership. Dual threat-ish. I mean, he's not a true dual threat like in the Lamar Jackson type idea, but he can run the football. I mean, it's not just like, oh, he can run pretty well. No, he can run. They can run RPO, and they can do the things that they want to do with the RPO game, which is to truly, use the quarterback as a running element. I mean, they still have Jeremiah Cobb, and they still have Damari Austin, and they're going to have some, really good freshmen coming in, and I imagine they're going to get somebody out of the portal. But, he can be a runner, and I think if he's an attacker with the ball in his hands, that just makes the rest of the offense work better. He's accurate inside of 20, for sure. Moves fluidly in the pocket. This is a kid, again, agile, quick, tough. He can run the football. He does well in the pocket. He will elude pressure the way that Bo Nix did. And gettable. I consider that a positive, that somebody's willing to come to Auburn at really, I think, one of its lowest ebbs ever. I mean, 4 consecutive losing seasons. I think it's a little bit of a challenge to get a really good quarterback to say, hey, man, we're going to get there. And Arnold obviously bought in. NIL played a big role, of course. The negatives, track record at Oklahoma. Again, he was not a super successful player at Oklahoma, period. I mean, he had good games and he had some bad ones. Don't watch the tape from Oklahoma against Missouri, believe me. Deep ball accuracy, we talked about in the last pane. I think he was 20% or so on deep balls this year. Look, the haters are going to say he don't have it. His white knighters are going to say he didn't have anybody to throw to, and I'm stuck in the middle, okay? I think he can improve that. I don't think he's ever going to be that deep guy the way Nick Marshall was, but I think that he can get there to the Peyton Thorne type numbers. Let's say 40%, maybe 42%, 43%, beyond 20 yards. When he's got guys like Cam Coleman, Perry going up there and getting balls for him, it's going to help a lot. Solemnity in the pocket is a negative to me. He does get a little bouncy when he's pressured. I mean, he has the speed to get away, but sometimes you've just got to plant your feet and execute a really solid technical throw, and that's something we haven't necessarily seen from him. He's still kind of got that Baker Mayfield when he was at Oklahoma and Texas Tech, I guess, where he's throwing off his back foot, trying to Brett Favre balls in, you know what I mean? And he's got to work on that because he's not – his arm is really good, but it's not that good. Inconsistency, kind of in what I said earlier, his track record at Oklahoma, not so good. Again, the Missouri game was a disaster, but really played well against Alabama. So I have to point it out, but he was a sophomore and he was thrown into the fire on a team that had a lot of problems. So I personally, myself, as someone with a background in psychology, I would say the inconsistency would have been par for the course, and I don't consider it alarming at all. As far as the rest of the portal, I think these two guys go hand in hand in a way. Xavier Chaplin is here. He's on a visit at Auburn right now. And finally, thank the Lord, Hugh Freeze has brought in a true left tackle. Xavier played really 2 full seasons at Virginia Tech as a left tackle the whole way through. 6'5", 230. He's probably 330. I got that wrong. He has the body type you're looking for, okay? Long, big enough, has an idea how to play the position. 73.7 grade this season for Virginia Tech. And I'm telling you, look at the numbers. He had some really good games. I think Virginia was his best game. But he didn't have, disastrous games. He either had a solid game or a good game. And that's the kind of guy you want to roll with, I think, at left tackle. This would be a massive upgrade for Auburn at that position. And, again, somebody that played the whole way through at left tackle excites me, that you don't have to be like, well, he's a guard, but he can play outside. I don't want to hear that anymore. I'm done with that. I also love his story. He grew up in rural South Carolina. He was about 30 to 45 minutes away from Charleston. This is not a recruiting hotbed at all. And he played at a small school, and he was kind of a diamond in the rough. And he also didn't really give a shit about being out on the circuit and getting exposed and making sure people know his Instagram. He just playing ball, bro. He was also a good wrestler, which is something that Will Muschamp always told me was really important. If a player he's looking at is a wrestler and has that kind of body build and the ability to kind of bend and compete, contort that way and still compete and be strong, he thinks that's a big plus. You may or may not care what Will Muschamp thinks about players, but anyway, Xavier was a really good wrestler in high school as well, a 3-star recruit, which is good considering he was out in the boonies. He really only considered Louisville and Virginia Tech. So anyway, I think he'd be a nice addition. Good country guy. Come over here, be the left tackle for Jackson Arnold, and give Auburn an immediate upgrade at that position. With Xavier Chapman added to the list of people that have, well, he's currently at Auburn, has either visited Auburn or currently at Auburn. I had to make an adjustment to the beast list. Of course, this is my view of how good each player is that's been here. And for me, Zechariah Poyser, whose name is misspelled. I got to get better at this. Who's editing this stuff, guys? It's me, actually. Poyser, for me, is still number one. Clev Lubin, I'm a big fan of that kid. I don't necessarily know that everybody is. I've got Jackson Arnold as the number 3 player. Critical player for Auburn. Like I said at the opening, the most important player for Auburn, just not maybe my favorite of the guys that have come in. And then Xavier Chaplin is the number 4 guy. It would be great for Auburn to have a true, honest-to-God left tackle. It's been a while. It's been a minute, and they need one very badly, and I think Jackson Arnold is definitely going to be the kind of guy that's going to attract some of this. I think Auburn's probably got a better shot now with Singleton than it did. Sounds like that one's going to come down to Auburn and Georgia. C.J. Daniels is probably going to be intrigued as well if you're into that kind of thing. I don't know if C.J. is someone that gets you super excited, but we'll see. They have some more guys coming in next week, and we will be continuing to update you as portal season progresses. But big news today with Jackson Arnold committing with Auburn. He's going to be the Tigers quarterback, and this is a very good start to the portal season. Honestly, it's the biggest need they had, and they finally got it locked down. So that's a very good thing, guys. Hey, listen, if you like the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free, and more subscriptions makes me more happy. So if you don't mind, that would be great. I appreciate you guys watching and taking some time to spend with me. I will see you guys. I'm going to be live streaming the Ohio State game, the basketball game at noon, which is only like an hour and a half from now. So if you guys want to jump back on the channel or whatever, come hang out with us and do the basketball thing, all right? Appreciate you guys watching. Love you guys. Peace.